If you look at automotive history, say from the 1960s onwards, ever so often there comes a car that so summarily moves the game forward that others have no choice but to follow suit. I think of the original Mini that revolutionized how small front-wheel drive cars were packaged. Or the Lamborghini Miura, which started as a two-finger salute to Enzo Ferrari and kicked off a supercar arms race that's still ongoing today. I recall watching in awe VHS clips of Ayrton Senna in his loafers, heeling and towing in the Honda NSX, bringing supercar glamour within reach of the average person, especially in Asia. Just look what the Renault Espace did for the MPV class, the BMW X5 for SUVs, or the much maligned Toyota Prius for the petrol-electric hybrid generation. All cars that created and defined now well-established vehicle classes.
In 1975, Volkswagen launched the Mark I Golf GTI. Not the first hot hatch by any means, but definitely one that cemented the hot hatch as an automotive class in its own right. And 5 years later, Audi introduced the Quattro with all-wheel drive. And those two roads converge in the car we're in today, which is neither a Volkswagen nor an Audi. This is the 2021 Mercedes A45s AMG. And it's important that we start the channel off with this particular hottest of hatches, because this car has not just moved the goalposts for what a hot hatch should be, it's blown the goalposts up completely. You might have heard a little of AMG's history already, how they started off modifying Mercedes cars and did such a good job of it that eventually they were acquired by Mercedes themselves. And now they're the in-house division that sprinkles the chili powder on vanilla mercs. Granted, that may be oversimplifying it a little, but needs must in a 10-minute video. This A45S though is a bona fide AMG with a one-man, one-engine ethos proudly emblazoned on the engine cover. The exterior of this car is very in keeping with the current trends in sports car design, which are, of course, the sportier the car, the angrier it looks.
And this does look pretty angry, with the distinctive Pan-Americana grille, widened front wheel fenders, and even canards next to the gaping air intakes on the front bumper. It looks ready for a fight. Now the interior is very impressive, but you already knew that from the 100 other A45s videos you've been watching until you stumble across this one. Ambient lighting and aircon vents certainly look the part, although the vents might pose a challenge to anyone trying to attach a phone mount to them. But you really shouldn't need to these days, because the Mercedes comes with seamless smartphone integration, both with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I've never really been a fan of the stick on a couple of iPads on the dashboard look. That seems to be de rigueur with so many manufacturers these days. I guess it's just something that we all have to learn to live with. But the one thing that does bother me in this interior is the steering wheel. There are just too many buttons on the damn thing. I mean, do you really need so many buttons at your disposal when you're on the move? And in this car particularly, there's a good chance that you'll be going pretty damn fast. Fast enough not to bother with many of these buttons.
except for these three. Mercedes has handily placed the drive mode select and a couple of configurable buttons on the steering wheel. And this is good because I certainly don't want to be reaching over to the center console and fiddling around with it when my eyes should be glued firmly on the road ahead of me. It's not perfect. Some of the icons are a little bit small for people with bad eyesight like myself, but it's a good first attempt. Anyway, once you're on the move and you start to focus on the drive, you won't be worrying too much about any of these buttons. So, let's go for a drive, shall we? This has probably been said many times already by others who have reviewed this car before me, but this engine is quite something. This must be the best 2-liter turbo engine ever produced in the history of road cars. Turbo technology has moved on so much in the last decade. I've been running the rev counter up to the limiter several times already, thinking that would be a drop in power higher up the rev band, but no, this thing just pulls quickly and cleanly all the way up to red line. Power is immense, as you'd expect from a 415 horsepower, 500 Newton meter monster of shortish wheelbase. It's not a particularly light car at 1,600 kilos, but it is very agile and very fast, as you'd expect from a hot hatch. Two things stand out for me when I compare this A45 to the previous generation. We've already spoken about the engine. This one is very responsive. The first generation still had noticeable turbo lag, especially in urban driving. This engine has definitely been set up to be very linear in its power delivery, but also extremely responsive to the throttle inputs at any speed. The other big evolutionary improvement on this A45 is the suspension. I don't know what Mercedes has been doing behind the scenes, but in the last few years, some people definitely have been fired and new ones hired at the AMG chassis and suspension department, because this thing rides beautifully. And it should at this price point. This car, any car, needs to be set up this way, minimally. And because of this new suspension, you can enjoy the drive so much more. You can focus on the road ahead and plan your lines without having to constantly look 5 meters in front of you for any pothole or road imperfections that might slip your disc on short notice. You can genuinely drive with a smile on your face and not have to cringe every few seconds. And best of all, you don't have to keep telling your lesser mortal passengers what a sporty suspension is and why it has to be so firm. Because it doesn't. Good on you, Mark. there you have it. Benchmark set way high. Too high for anyone else to reach? Well, we're already hearing of a competitor from Wolfsburg that's bringing its A game to the Merc, and at a lower price point too. Ah yes, the price. The Mercedes retails for a cool 300,000 here in Singapore. That's 160,000 pounds, 225,000 US dollars, and about 186,000 euros. That's a lot of money for a hot hatch. And if I'm having to pay that much for this car, here's my main gripe. It's here, the rear. It just doesn't look quite right to me. Well, yes, it's clean, it's functional, etc., etc. But given what this car is, and given how it looks from the front, and given that this is the most common sight that many drivers will be seeing disappearing quickly into the distance, this looks like a little bit of an afterthought to me. Dare I say it? It looks like the designers ran out of ideas by the time they reached the rear of the car. You'll see what I mean in just a minute. You'll have to be quick though. That's it for now.